If you want to be a happy person, a content person, a fulfilled person, a grateful person, there's one thing you have to do. You have to change your baseline assumption. But what does that mean exactly? Hello, my lovely friends. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. My name is Yani, and today I want to talk to you about how you can become happy, how you can become less anxious, and just overall more confident by changing the way that you think. Hear me out, because I know that there is a lot of practical advice out there telling you that if you want to be happy, you have to change your mindset. You have to change your perspective, but very few people actually give insight as to what that means and what that looks like. And a lot of times what you'll find is people telling you to be grateful, but I don't feel that be grateful is a blanket solution that you can apply to all of your problems in life. It obviously certainly helps and it's necessary, but if you need something more than just telling you to be grateful, it isn't just going to cut it all together. And I consider myself to be a very happy person, a very abundant person, a very blessed and grateful person, and a calm person, and a patient person, and a lucky person. And that is something that I've progressed and worked towards throughout my life. Your ability to do that and make radical change depends so much on who you are and your circumstances and what change actually looks like. To kind of get back to my main point, what does it mean to change your baseline assumption? I'm going to try very hard to explain this without an infographic. So if you walk into a room, and say you're a socially anxious person and you walk into a room and your first thought going into that room is everybody's looking at me, everybody's looking at the fact that my outfit doesn't fit the way that I would like it to fit to feel confident. You assuming that people don't like your outfit is your baseline assumption. That's like, if you draw a straight line, that's your baseline assumption. And then kind of like a heart monitor that goes up and down, you can go up and you can go down, but that's your baseline. That's your base. Changing your baseline assumption is assuming something higher, and then there can only be variance from there. So I used to be a very anxious person, and I still can be triggered. I can still be triggered. I'm still only human. However, me being anxious is no longer the baseline. Before, it used to be at a basic level, I'm anxious, and I can get more anxious or I can get less anxious. Now, my baseline is I'm calm. I'm not anxious. Now, I could get anxious or I could get even more chill. But the baseline changed. And I think it's as far as how you can change your mindset and how you can be a happier person, how you can be a less anxious person and a more fulfilled person is not by telling yourself that everything is perfect. It's not by swallowing pills of gratitude and trying to force yourself to believe things that maybe just don't feel natural in that moment. It's okay to not be able to work within those extremes, but the first thing you can do to help yourself and improve your mindset and improve your life is assume higher and assume better. And that doesn't mean that that is true. That means it could only go up and down from there. So for example, sometimes I don't like the way my hair looks. It happens. It happens to everybody. But if I go into a room and I assume that everybody doesn't like the way my hair looks, then that's going to give me anxiety because I'm thinking everybody in the room doesn't like the way my hair looks. But in reality, if I change it from everybody doesn't like the way my hair looks to everybody sees that I have hair, that's true, objectively, that's not an extreme, then it can only vary from there. At a basic level, everybody sees I have hair, and then maybe some people like it, and then some people love it, perhaps, and it's up and down. But you can safely assume the baseline that people think you have hair. And then if it goes up from there, cool. If it goes down from there, that's fine. If you are somebody that walks into a space and you're like, everybody hates me. Everybody thinks I'm a cringy person. Everybody hates how I look. If you think that, that's your baseline. Your baseline is really low. So if everybody automatically at a basic level hates how you look, it can only get worse. And if it does get better, it's like, oh, well, they think I'm tolerable. And having such a low baseline is such a recipe for disaster and poor self-esteem and just unhappiness. However, if you update your baseline to be higher, it can radically change. And I think the reason that this is effective is because it doesn't have to be unrealistic. It can actually be more realistic. For example, instead of going into a room with the baseline assumption that everybody hates how you look, you can walk into a room with the baseline assumption that everybody just thinks you are a person. That's it. Doesn't mean that they think you're an ugly person. It doesn't mean that they think that you're a beautiful person. You can safely and realistically assume that at a basic level, people look at you and they think you are a person. That is your new baseline. Seems simple, but it's so much higher than assuming that people don't like you. So if your new baseline is that you are a person, then from there, people can like you and people can dislike you, and it can have variance. And that's okay. Variance will always exist. There might be somebody that doesn't like you, but when you change your assumption from that being the basic assumption, you would be surprised by how radically different things can be for you. And this is something that I've really implemented in my life, and something that I continuously come back to in times of high stress or low self-esteem or anxiety. I mean, it really applies to absolutely anything that you want it to. Ultimately, you have to decide for yourself what's realistic. And I encourage you, if you struggle with that, to be as neutral as possible. You don't have to tell yourself that people look at you and think you're pretty if you go into a room and you usually think people don't like how you look. You can tell yourself that the first thing people notice about you is that you're a human being, which is significantly more realistic than anything else in either direction. So definitely explore what this could look like for you, because if you want to be happy, you have to learn to do this. If you want to be less anxious, you have to learn to do this. Assume higher, and by default, even when you have a lesser outcome, it'll be higher than what you were automatically expecting because you increased your threshold. There's a book I've been reading recently. It's called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. And I actually came across an essay that is basically saying the same thing I'm saying, possibly a little bit more eloquently. And you should have seen me when I read this. I was like, oh my gosh, because here I thought I had a completely unique and original idea, and here's a book saying the exact same thing better. That's usually what happens. But I was really happy to see that this wasn't just something that I was delusionally telling myself to make myself feel better. Like, this is a concept that can work in practice. I want to read to you just a quick excerpt from this particular, essay, which is all about breaking your upper limit and how you can stop getting in the way of your own happiness. And this is what it says. Most people don't know that it's possible to shift their baseline, since it's always framed in a way of being how one naturally is. Other psychologists call it the baseline, the amount of happiness we quote unquote naturally feel and eventually revert back to, even if certain events or circumstances shift us temporarily. Nothing has to be an essential part of you unless you decide it is, especially anxiety and fear. That's just a quick expert, and it definitely doesn't communicate everything that I'm trying to say. It definitely words it a little bit better, but I do think it takes it a little bit further too. I really wanted to simplify it to the core and give you a practical way that you can shift your mindset towards being a happier person. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I know that it was a little bit all over the place, but I really hope you got something from it, because this is a topic dear to my heart. I feel very blessed in life, and I feel very abundant, and I feel very fortunate to have learned the lessons I did and to be so innately in tune with how to be happier. And I want to share that for others who maybe need a little bit more guidance. So if this video helped you at all, please let me know. Please let me know if you want to see more videos like this, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.